sure we'll clear up. And so, we're gonna start right off with a roll call, please.
Hessner.
Yes.
Arbogast. Here. Heath.
Here.
Mays.
Here.
Ritter. Weller.
Here.
Yoder.
Okay, we have a quorum. Approval of the agenda. You've seen that, I'd take a motion for that. Mr. Weller, second by Kathy Arbogast. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of the minutes from last month. You've read that in your packet. We have a motion for that, Mr. Mays.
Yes.
Thank you. Second, Mr. Heath. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Business to come before the committee, budget and capital requests. And we'll start off with the state's attorney, Mr. Randy Yednak, please.
Hello. So you have my budget request. It is no increase in any way, shape, or form. You'll note one of the things that kind of threw me off, between 2018 and 2019, you'll see an increase there. There really isn't an increase, and I know Diane can probably speak to that more. There were some errors made when it came to incorporating the victim witness coordinator's salary. Part of that salary is we receive a grant for, and part of it's paid for by the county. I don't really remember exactly what the error was, but some of that money was not included, so there really isn't an increase. It was more of an error, and that's what justifies the change in the numbers there. But other than that, we're not asking for, like I said, we're not, and I believe Diane had indicated, and I won't hold you to this, but if we stay on pace, we should still come under budget even with those numbers for this year. There will be money that we return back to the county, so, and I expect that next year as well. I just didn't know with the certain things, certain projects that we're going to be working on, I didn't want to go ahead and cut the budget too much without knowing where we're at on that, so.
Well, thank you. Any discussion, any questions from the state's attorney?
You want to handle that individually and vote on them individually before the business, or want to handle
I
them
think it is.
individually?
Do we have a motion? Do we need a motion?
Yep.
We have a motion to forward the state's attorney's budget request to the finance committee, please. Mr. Mays, second by Mr. Heath. All
Are
those
we
in
recommending
favor?
approval before
Right.
the vote?
Yeah.
Recommending approval?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the state's attorney's budget request forwarded to the finance committee. Now, Mr. Baker, the probation department.
Yes, you have our budget as well. We are slightly under our target, so we were able to achieve that. We don't have any capital requests for this year. You'll notice some changes within certain line items up or down, and that's simply trending changes, either in amount we're spending or what things are costing. But in general, we were able to do what we wanted to do.
You don't anticipate hiring any more this year?
No, actually, we're fully staffed now.
Fully staffed, okay.
And I don't anticipate any changes unless we'd have someone leave hopefully.
Yeah, right, okay. Any questions of Mr. Baker? Now I'll entertain a motion to recommend approval, or to send it up to the finance committee.
Recommending approval?
Yes. Ms. Arbogast, second by Mr. Weller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Circuit clerk, please.
Well, I am asking for an increase. I reduced staff because of attrition, and we tried it for a few months and it's not working, so I'm going to the finance committee tomorrow to see if I can't reinstate that one full-time employee. And that's why I'm hoping that that will be approved, and that's why the budget gets increased in the salaries.
Okay. Any questions on the budget for circuit clerk? If not, I'll entertain a motion to be recommended to the finance committee. Mr. Heath, second by Kathy Arbogast, all in favor?
Aye. Pending approval of
Pending
the.
approval of the finance committee. Circuit court.
There isn't anybody here from the judge's office. She did include a letter within your packet. You'll see her budget for her individual office was right on target, exactly what was requested, and then the jury commission was just slightly over at $350. In her email that I included in your packet, she explains that the changes that she made and what that resulted from, which all seems reasonable. Yes, it is.
Any questions on that? Not? Entertain a motion for that one, to approve it? Recommend approval to the finance committee. Mr. Heath, second by Mr. Mays. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Coroner. Coroner, Danny?
Down here. Diane,
Yeah.
did we figure that, we didn't figure that increase, did we?
I did salary increases. I mean, everything is just as we did it. I
Okay.
didn't do any, I haven't touched it in a week.
All right, basically, the only increase I'm asking for is an increase in my deputy coroners. They've not had an increase for 4 years, and everybody else has gotten a 2.5% every year. And I'd like to raise their call pay up to 117 per call.
And it's on, that's only a $2 raise anyway.
Yeah, it was,
115 to
117, I think it was. And I would like to take care of that. And other than that, Diane and I just changed some figures around and pretty well staying where we're at.
Was there a capital request for?
There is the
Yes, there
body
is
camera.
a capital request for a cooler. One of the complaints has always been our autopsies, and because of the circumstances of death, and I had one just the other day, if we cannot get a hold of a doctor or a family member to give us an idea of their medical history, number one, we have to store the patient, which is a transport to Bloomington or Grundy County. And then it's a morgue charge. And if there's anything questionable, then we have to autopsy by statute. And that runs into a lot of money. It's over $2,000. With a cooler like we used to have, I had one Friday. I could have put him in a cooler and held him until I got a hold of the family later on, which was actually at about 8 o'clock that night. And I found out that he had a pacemaker, and he also had a heart condition. So he was already at the morgue, so I went down Saturday and I talked to the doctor, and we wrote that one off. That I'll still sign the death certificate, but it's a heart problem is what he died of, so that saves us all that money. And that probably happens 5-6 times a year, and sometimes more. I've been very aggressive getting doctors to sign death certificates when it's their job to sign. So we've saved quite a bit of money there, and if you can see by the statistics that we gave you on the coroner contact sheet, it looks like if trends go the way they are, we're gonna have another record year this year. Just like we did last year. Last year we averaged a death a day, 365 deaths. And this year, as of Sunday, we've already had 138 deaths. No, it's more than that, 213 deaths. So the trend is rising, and the autopsies are still going to be a little bit above what I like, but that's because of the types of death we're having, and the drug deaths are starting to climb back up again.
How many of those deaths required autopsies, Danny?
Every,
Roughly.
well, right there is autopsies were 22 this year of the 213.
Any questions for the coroner? If not, I'll entertain a motion to recommend approval of the request to the finance committee. Mr. Weller makes a motion, Mr. Heath seconds it. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Danny. Public defender, please.
Evening. I think if you look at the budget, you'll see that our line items have remained the same. We don't anticipate any increases. I am kind of hopeful at the end of the year to have some surplus. We recently signed a new agreement with our copier, which was at a little bit lower rate, and we cut down on the number of copies that we have to make in the office, so I am expecting a little bit of the savings in that area.
Okay. Any questions from the public defender's office?
Just for those of you who have not met Mr. Ripley, this is Scott Ripley, our new public defender.
Evening.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Mr. Ripley, there's just one full-time person in your office, that's you, right? Is the other guy
I have two part-time assistants.
part-time?
Mr. Mason is in the office probably 2 days a week. And then Mr. Bertram, who is the contract attorney, is in the office a few times a week, depending on what his schedule is. And then, of course, my secretary or administrative assistant, Mary Jo, is full-time.
Any questions? Entertain a motion to recommend approval of the budget from the finance committee. Mr. Weller, second. Kathy Arboris, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Tony Childers, Sheriff, good evening, Sheriff.
Good evening. So I'll go ahead and defer to Captain Glowacki for our budget. Our current budget proposal is $23,178 over our allotment. Those numbers mainly the increases come from three line items. First one is a $3,800 increase in our salary line item, and that was due to, we had recently had 3 promotions.
Yeah.
The big one is we have a $17,000 increase in our contractual buyouts. We have people getting older and they're now qualifying for the sick time buyout, which adds a lot of money. And $2,000 in our radio maintenance line item. We've added 2 new Starcom radios to the prisoner transports, which along with that comes maintenance agreements for each radio for $1,000 a piece, so that's the $2,000. So that's where our increases we are asking for come from.
So that's in the jail, okay, this is the.
Do we run any of those radios through the jail side rather than the sheriff's side, or they all go on the sheriff's side?
Yeah, every radio comes through our line, the radio maintenance line item.
Any questions? Captain,
Motion approved.
you made the motion, okay, Mr. Heath made a motion, Mr. Waller second to recommend to the finance committee approval of the requested budget. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Jail, Mr. Cox, please.
We have significant changes. A lot of it has to do with the new contract that we have. You see the biggest increase is in the medical care. Part of the agreement, we adjusted the price of holding the feds now was an agreement to do 24/7 nursing, which was a significant increase. If you look at that line item, that's $420,000 now. So that is the most significant increase. The other relatively significant increase is with the overtime.
Yeah.
And we are actually calculated off what we are trending minus what we paid out last year. So it's a pretty accurate estimation of what the overtime will be next year. And there are, of course, contractual pay increases also.
Yeah, that's in the back.
Yeah, I left the capital, if you guys are going through your documents, I left the capital for the sheriff's department together. So if you keep going, you'll find that. Yeah, and then we'll just go back and do the capital after we do it. Yeah, that's why it's.
I have a motion to approve the jail request to the finance committee. Recommendation from Cole.
I will comment on it too, but I'm sorry. That there is, with the new contract, there is a significant increase in what the income's gonna be also, so.
Yeah. It is very effective. A lot of money for the taxpayer. Kathy, I'm gonna spend a motion for recommendation of approval to the finance committee.
Yep.
Second by Mr. Waller. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Elena, what's the next one?
Okay, we just need to go to the, we did the cooler with the coordinator's request. So there's a couple of more requests which fall under the sheriff's department, which is the officer memorial, if Sharon told us for, Captain Glowacki, you wanna review those, that's fine, and then they have a new program request for school resource officers, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. So the memorial that we would like to do would go around the flagpole in front of the sheriff's office. And that memorial would be dedicated to Deputy Charles Haney, who was killed in the line of duty in 1917 here in Pontiac. And our feeling at the sheriff's office is that he was never adequately memorialized. And a law enforcement officer killed in the line of duty. He was answering a domestic call at 822 East Howard Street in Pontiac, which was a 2- or 3-story home that was located where Smith's Plumbing is now on East Howard Street. He went there on a report of 2 females being assaulted, and the suspect was upstairs, lying in bed, apparently had been drinking. Deputy Haney went up the stairs to speak with him and was shot as he came around the stairway. He shot 3 times. He lived for several days, however, he later succumbed to his injuries at St. James Hospital. That, we got estimates, which, as far as I'm concerned, the landscaping is really probably anything. It was only $1,700 for them to lay an adequate area of ground around that flagpole there to prepare it for we wanted to do a tombstone bench. And on that bench would be an inscription stating in memoriam or in memorial of Deputy Charles Haney and his end of life fate, and maybe a little bit more to the story. That is pretty much what we looked at. Now, the problem is the bench, we got an estimate from Pontiac Granite Monument, and it was $15,000 was what they gave us. I think that's very high. I think we could probably get by for a little bit less than that.
That included the statue too, didn't
No, it did not include the statue.
it? Does that include some kind of a brass or copper plaque with the story on it too? Or is it all,
That would be
is it all gonna be engraved?
It would be engraved in the back of the bench. The bench is a bench that 2 or 3 people could sit on at one time, and it also has a back. So,
Oh, up above the seat?
yes, yes. And that inscription would be in that back of the bench, is what we're proposing. So, we're also open to other ideas for it, but that's the initial
Is the
idea.
engraving the real expensive part?
Well, I think that engraving was included in the price of the monument. Donnie went over and got that, or talked to them, and got that, so I'm not sure.
I think it did. What I ran into was the color of the stone and the engraving. They can only do the engraving on a certain color stone. That's where I got to the point I didn't know where to go from there.
Right.
And I thought that might have included the statue too, but that was the maximum, I think. But just so much to choose from.
Sure. The statue he's talking about was a depiction of a deputy down on his knee with his hand out to a child. That's what we were proposing.
Do we know if there's any descendants or
Yes.
family members of
There-
Mr. Haney?
There was, I have not talked to her in a couple of years or so, but yeah, he had a niece by the name of Anita Hess who lived in East Peoria. So I wanted to get this going, and then I was gonna reach out to her, but I'm not gonna reach out to her until we know that we're going to do it. And then I would have her there to unveil it and dedicate it to him.
She's probably getting up there too.
Yeah, last I knew, she was in her 70s. But she went out with Deputy Turner and I to Washington DC in 2012, I think it was, to dedicate Deputy Haney's name on the memorial wall for fallen officers in Washington DC at Police Week.
Any other questions?
So this is an up to amount?
Correct. I think with some more negotiating, I could probably get that down. I thought that was a high figure.
Yeah. Do we have a motion to send that to the finance?
Yeah.
Mr. Miller, second. Mr. Heath, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Are you recommending approval of that
Approval,
one?
yeah.
Yeah, the up to amount.
Up to that amount.
Obviously, they're gonna see what kind of deal they can get.
Okay, now what's next?
Okay, and then, the last ones for you to consider is the program request from the sheriff's department for the school resource officers. Sheriff, do you wanna go through that again?
Yes, thank you. So we would like for you to consider a request for 2 school resource officers. We have 3 high schools in Livingston County that the sheriff's office is responsible for. Those being Flanagan, Woodland, and Tri-Point and Cullen. Woodland has already taken the lead, and they have gotten approved through their board for a officer at their school, beginning of the school year, that they will share with the Streeter Police Department at North Lawn Junior High in Streeter. So my understanding in talking with Superintendent McGuckin at Woodland, they are paying half of that officer's salary. And I believe Streeter Police Department is paying, or the city of Streeter is paying the other half, which I think is really phenomenal because, in my opinion, Streeter doesn't even have a dog in the fight because they're in LaSalle County. And here they are supporting an officer at a Livingston County school. So I kind of feel like.
I thought you said they were sharing it with North Lawn.
Yes.
That's in LaSalle County.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean.
But Woodland is not.
Yeah, Woodland's not.
Ours is
But they're probably just paying the sheriff for North Lawn.
Well, the city of Streeter is getting, I believe, paid from Woodland for part of that officer's salary. So that's the way that works.
So they're splitting the salary. He's gonna spend part of his time up at North Lawn and the other part down at Woodland.
Correct.
About half and half.
Yes, yes.
So they're each paying their fair share.
So, what our proposal proposes is that we supply 2 officers to cover those other 2 schools in Livingston County. In light of the recent school shootings that have occurred in the United States, I feel it's incumbent upon us and absolutely our responsibility to make those schools safe. And I also feel that statistics have shown that there's no better deterrent to an active shooter in a school than having some type of omnipresence, such as a police car sitting out in front of that school during school hours, and an armed officer in that school at the same time during those hours. I have had conversations with the Flanagan school superintendent, who relayed to me that at his last board meeting, he spoke with the board over there, And those discussions were very favorable in them also putting up some money for a school resource officer. I've made numerous attempts to get a hold of the superintendent at Tri-Point and call him. Due to the fact that it's summertime, I think that might be why I'm not having any luck there, but give me just a few more days, to a couple of weeks or so, and hopefully I will speak with him and see if they're favorable. I do know that their principal is favorable. I did speak with her, and she was absolutely on board, but obviously, you gotta talk to the superintendent, he's gotta talk with his board and let us know. Captain Milwaukee and Chief Ducko and I sat down with the numbers, and I believe you have them. I do understand that it is a substantial amount of money for officer salaries, for a couple of more squad cars and radios. However, my question would be to that is, how much is a child's life worth? How much is your child's life worth? How much is your wife's, who's a school teacher there, life worth? Or any faculty member there, how much is their life worth? So, once again, these numbers, I feel they're up to of what the maximum cost would be. If things work out to where we can get some commitment from Tri-Point and we get that commitment from Flanagan, obviously those numbers will reduce some.
Would that be, Tony, on the bottom of the proposal says additional estimated revenue to be generated? Is that what you're sort of guessing that might come from the two entities to
Yes.
bring the cost on that?
That is correct.
Okay, now the other thing, for some of us who are not experts in accounting, the cost of equipment, is that the two squad cars?
Where are you looking?
121,000?
No, sir.
What would that be?
Are we still on the first page here?
No, capital budget request.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that's cars, radios.
Cars, all that stuff.
Computers.
And then we go down, total amount requested, $256,049. That would include the salary costs.
Yes, sir.
And all that's with the
Yes,
insurance
correct.
and retirement.
Oh, so the middle number is a total of the top and bottom numbers.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
But we may get subsidized
a little bit.
on the salary.
For that very low number
Yeah.
down at the bottom.
Maybe.
We hope.
So we could come out of it with maybe costing 200,000 or 190,000. Right.
Do we have any old squads that could serve the purpose if you put Newton gears and stuff in them?
There's a possibility.
I mean, you might not want them on the road every day because they're not that greatly dependable, but would they suffice for sitting in front of the school with communication equipment? So that might even cut that down a little bit, if you've got something that runs.
Right.
It's gotta be dependable.
It would cut down some of this cost, we did talk about this earlier, but we're still gonna need the radio equipment.
Yep.
That's correct. Right?
Yeah, it'd be
You're looking at 20,000 for radios.
Yeah.
And on the back of that, the committee is the breaks down per deputy, the salary, and then the benefits cost to the county, and then the total on the bottom. Okay. Any questions, any more questions on that capital that's left?
So this is two
Yes,
additional officers.
Linda Ambrose? Oh, go ahead.
So this is two additional officers.
This would be two additional officers, fully outfitted,
Fully equipped.
assigned to the schools, Flanagan and Tri-Point. For how long? It would be 12.
They would be assigned, they would be active there 9 months. That other 3 months, we would probably use them in areas to cover for vacations. things like that.
So that will cut overtime then.
Right.
Oh, yes, good.
How much do you think?
All right. Top of my head, I couldn't give you an answer.
Finance will be asking that.
Yeah, at the top of my head, I don't know.
Linda Ambone?
Okay, Sheriff, you had said that the sheriff's department was responsible and you named off 4 schools.
3 schools.
3 schools.
Yes.
Do the larger towns already have resource officers? Like, just, Mike, does Prairie Central have one? A resource
Prairie
officer?
Central, that would be the responsibility of the Fairbury Police Department since they're in their jurisdiction.
Okay,
So that
so
would
if
be
they
their-
have a police department, then,
That would be
They-
their
they take-
responsibility, just like Pontiac Township High School is the Pontiac Police Department's responsibility.
okay.
However, what I will tell you is that the Pontiac Police Department has had a very hard time in getting a school resource officer or somebody in the proactive unit to help with the fight on drugs in the Pontiac area, probably since Casey Colmeyer was killed, which was 2013. Because it just seems like every time they get 1 or 2 people up and get them hired, for whatever reason, they leave. And so they're right back down in their numbers, and they just can't seem to get over that hump of their numbers to get, I'm told that once they get some stable people in their forces to have their numbers up where they need to be, they will have a school resource officer again here in Pontiac and have somebody in the proactive unit.
Okay, so if they have a police department, then the county is not responsible
Right.
for it. That's why these other ones, okay.
Yeah, Woodland, Flanagan, and Tri-Point and Cullum all fall under the Livingston County Sheriff's Department's jurisdiction. So that's why I feel it's incumbent on us at the Sheriff's Office to do this.
Okay, now, we can,
This one, it says under here, currently your duties being performed by whom? Underneath your second page here, it says, yes, the deputy sheriff. I'm assuming that's just like drive-bys or.
Yeah, we have officers that are usually driving out by those schools as an extra duty in their patrol activities in the mornings to just try to make sure that folks are not speeding through the school zones and anything that erroneous that could be happening in a school area during the time that everyone's coming to school.
now with this or any of the others, we can recommend the finance committee approve it, or you don't have to recommend anything. That's what Lena said.
Yep.
So, what's your pleasure?
Well, I just, I'm sorry, the discussion that we had a while ago, with things that might be happening.
Sure.
I don't want to bring it up, but, I would think that this would be part of.
Eventually. I
Yeah.
would like to think so.
Okay, it's a lot of money to be thinking about, and I understand the resource officer thing, I'm kind of.
I think eventually it washes out, but, you know, yeah, it should.
Okay.
And just, the radios and the computer would be a one-time thing. I mean, once you bought them, we would never have to buy them again. That's just the initial.
Well, until they were around.
Well, yeah, this will be,
Five
it will be
years
gone.
ago.
And them radios should last for a long time.
Are we into the part of trading some out there soon?
We just sold 6, and so
Them are the real.
what we talked about earlier was, the fact that we'll probably purchase one more towards the end of this year if we can work it into the budget. And then, we'll budget 4 more for next year. If we can't get this year's in, we'll budget 5 for next year. And so 2 of the officers, the 2 best cars would go to the resource officers, and then we'd still get the same amount of cars. But we just left it in here as full allocation request, and then we'll see what happens.
So that, I mean, basically,
It's
if that
possible.
does happen, this vehicles and all that stick around.
Yeah, it's possible.
Possibly.
We put in the full request, we didn't talk about that, but we wanted to put in the full request, to start with, and then, just know that there are some modifications that can be made in order to reduce the cost, depending on their budget and budget numbers and requests coming in for grants.
Tony, that Ford utility squad, is that the, you using Explorers?
Yes.
Well, it's certainly sadly, it's a necessary thing around the country. That's what's happened. And I agree with Tony, you know, rather be proactive and look back at something that we regret. Anyway, what's your pleasure? Would you want to make any recommendation to the Finance Committee or recommend it be approved?
I don't know if I'm gonna have any company on this, but, I'm a firm believer in it. I think we've witnessed it in Dwight. We've been doing it for quite a few years now. And I think that squad car sitting in front of the schools is a major deterrent. And the message gets sent immediately. And Gary is at the high school and middle school virtually every day. And they're about 300 yards apart from building to building.
Okay, Mr. Weller is recommended we recommend
I guess that would be a
approval.
recommendation.
Right. What was the second?
The approval?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're just recommending that
The
for the Finance Committee that we would approve it, but it's their responsibility.
Yeah, to recommend approval.
Yeah, recommend approval. Do I have a second? Kathy Arbogast. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any no? We'll have to have a roll call. There's a no. Roll call, please.
Well, guys, kind of a mess here. Kestner,
Yes.
May,
I would other things happen.
Well,
oh,
we couldn't bring that up.
Arbogast. Yes. Heath. Weller.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, our recommendation is to approve to the Finance Committee. We thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on to our monthly department report, is that correct?
Yes, you're only through all that. Okay, and then.
Thank you all for attending, appreciate it.
You got bills?
It's, the bill one is for property committee, it's noted on the front page, property request.
No, that,
Are you planning on going over it tonight?
That's not
It needs to go to
ours.
property, so,
No.
well,
Okay, it's up to
Yeah.
you.
Is this the same thing we did last night?
yeah.
yeah. So you guys-
And it got forwarded to finance, so it's going there.
Okay.
If you wanna talk about it again.
No, I said what I had to say.
Okay.
Well,
Bill and his name.
the
Okay.
Finance Committee will take all of them.
Yep,
Praise or blame, that's all right.
that's exactly right.
Pass the buck.
Right. Cook County Federal Court, Mr.
We have 77 federal inmates in our jail right now, 19 Cook County, so we have 96 out-of-county detainees at this moment. 39 Livingston County for a total of 135. Cook County housing this month was 29,900. The housing for the northern beds was 104,796. Central housing for central feds was 57,652. Transfer pay, officer pay for the northern was, normal transports was 10,230. Medical transports was 2,310. Central feds was $5,055 for the normal transports, $360 for the feds, and we do JPATS, which is for flights for the transports. That was $330. Mileage for the Northern District was $2,289.55. An additional $238.52 for the medical transports. Central was $1,229.52. $62.68 for the meds and $109 for the JPATS. The grand total of that, everything, we had some miscellaneous from Cook County, $402.66. Grand total was $214,964.93 for the brought into my account.
Say that one more time.
214,964.93 And all that paperwork supports that. So-
Yep, I got it.
Yeah, right there.
That's fine.
Very good. Is our Cook County population down on the?
19, we, if you remember, I reported last month that they were gonna pull them all out of all the counties temporarily, and we nicely warned them that, you know, if you do, we're not, no threat, but if you do, we're probably gonna fill those beds with federal detainees, and they decided they wanted to save 20 beds, so.
Good.
Any questions? The Cox, no? Animal control report, anything there?
Oh, I passed out the
Oh,
report
it's
for
in
you.
there.
Yes, it is.
All right. Proactive report, is anything?
We distributed that
Yep.
packet as well. Bring it out for you.
Do we have any raffle licenses?
We were supposed to have a raffle license for the 4-H fair, but it did not come in, so,
And they're gonna start this.
yeah, so I think
Busy
they
out there
just,
working right
Yeah.
now.
But we don't have a,
we do not. Christie was going to call and check on it, and then, she did not hear back from anyone.
I guess we can't approve or deny anything that's not here. I guess I think it is.
Well, they haven't heard of you, you can get it on the agenda for the rest of
We don't know. We'll see if when it comes in. Otherwise, if the committee's okay, we do approve it every year. We'll just do it retroactively.
You know, at our next meeting,
Yeah.
county board meeting.
We have done that before. We don't like to, but.
Okay, everyone have a chance to review and approve the bills. We're gonna go all one around. Do we have a motion for that? To approve, Mr. Ray is second. Mr. Weller, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, public comment, please.
I got one thing that I didn't have a chance to get together before the meeting. We're having a problem now with indigent deaths as to who pays for them. According to statute, the county board, the county treasurer is obliged to take care of the body. I have a policy that I'll get made up, that we need to, we've got a choice. As a coroner, I can cremate or I can bury. Cremation is the cheapest. Burying is more expensive. It has been brought up to me a couple of times by one of the board members that there is an indigent death fund in the state of Illinois. Unfortunately, coroners are not eligible for that. Prisoners from the prison are not eligible for that. The only people that can apply for that are the relatives or friends of the deceased. It takes anywhere from 6 months to, well, a week or 6 months to get that money. So therefore, funeral homes anymore will not pick up a body until they are paid, if it's an indigent. So therefore, guess who it gets dumped on? And then my expenses start climbing. I had 2 prisoners that were dumped on me by PCC last year that I got stuck with almost a $2,000 storage bill. So we're going to have to do something. I have a policy that I think works. It's out of a county up north, and what he does, he pays the funeral home what the state will allow. If they allow, I think it's $560 for a cremation, he pays the funeral home that. And if it's a burial, it's about $1,600 altogether, basically, is what he'll pay the funeral home for a burial. And we need to get a law made in Livingston County. I just checked with Randy when he was here, and he read it, and he said that would be good, because my inclination is to cremate. Unfortunately, if we get somebody, if there's no relatives, but somebody comes out of the woodwork 5 years later and says his wishes were not to be cremated, or his religion says he cannot be cremated, we're going to end up in court. Well, with this statute, we won't end up in court because this is what the county says that's our law. So I need to get that together for you, and you can decide what you wanna do with it.
Sounds good. Any other comments?
Just a quick introduction, I probably should have done this at the start of the meeting, but if you don't know him, the gentleman with me is Eric Mond, our new department supervisor. He's a 20-year veteran of our department, an Odell native, still lives there. He's been really good in the new role, so. Yeah, a bunch of Odell guys in the office, yeah.
You're surrounded.
We're about a third Odell at the office.
All right, well, welcome. Nice to meet you. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Mays, second. Mr. McGee, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you for attending.